Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video we're going to talk getting started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and today we're looking at the Beasts of Chaos faction, and in particular the Gavespawn sub-faction of the army. In this video we're going to go through, talk about the special rules and units that the Gavespawn get access to as an army that makes them special for Beasts of Chaos, and then we'll take a look at some units we recommend to get started with for the faction. We'll then look at some other units we can use to expand upon those initial purchases, and finally finish off the video with a little sample army list of 750 points for you to use as some inspiration for starting your own Beasts of Chaos army for the Gavespawn. And so, it is pretty simple with the Gavespawn special rule. You can include Gibberon Congregations in your army. This is a special type of unit that we'll go into detail in just a second, but effectively what it is three special type of Chaos Spawn that can be taken as a battle line unit option within the army, allowing you to have, this corrupted force of mutated masses as your force, as Morgr himself would have loved. For those who don't know, the narrative behind the Gavespawn is that they pray to this corrupting god Morgr, who back in the old world was a Bray Shaman who pretty much corrupted everything around him into Chaos Spawn. And so, to get started, I'm thinking, this sub-faction for me is all about the narrative of trying to play in, the essence of Morgr of old. So a great Bray Shaman is a really good place to start, or should I say, a great place to start. Now, the Great Bray Shaman is a wizard that you have access to in the Beasts of Chaos. They're a one cast and one unbind wizard, and they've got a couple of cool rules. Infused with Bestial Vigor allows you to add 6 to the range of heroic actions from the Rituals of Ruin battle trait that you carry out with this unit, which is pretty cool. And also you've got your Devolve spell, which has a casting value of 7 and a range of 18 inch. If successfully cast, you pick an enemy unit within range and visible to the caster, as is normal with most spells. And before that unit tries to move, you can roll 3d6 before it makes a normal move, run, retreat, or charge. So any sort of move except pile in. And if the roll of your roll is greater than the enemy unit's bravery characteristic, the maximum distance of that move is halved. Simply a great little sort of utility piece to have in a couple of different varieties. Now, of course, to go along with this, we are going to talk about the Morgurite Chaos Spawn. For me, this is where you're going to be wanting to play with the faction. I mean, it's all about the narrative here. So you do have regular Chaos Spawn, and you've got some things in similarities with them. You've got a nice little movement, which you have on the Morgurite ones is actually set unlike your regular Chaos Spawn. So you've got move 10 rather than move 3d6, and you've got a save 5 up, bravery 10, and 5 wounds per model, which is really nice. Now, the special thing they really get is the Spews of Corruption, which is an 8-inch range shooting attack for d6 attacks, 3s and 3s to hit and wound with rend -1 and damage 2. They've also got their bizarre mutations in combat with a 1-inch range and 8 attacks at 3s and 3s, no rend damage 1. So, it's slightly better than your normal Chaos Spawn. Their abilities are rare, they really come into their own though. Aura of Insanity means they subtract 1 from the attack characteristic of weapons used by enemy units that are within 1 inch of them. And they can run and still charge later in the turn thanks to the Propagator of Devolution special rule. Now, if we're looking for some other units to bring in, first of all, I think the Jabberslite and the Chimera are 2 monsters that really bring the sort of narrative for this army to life. The Jabberslite in particular, this is something that really just suits everything about this sort of force. So, the Jabberslite has some cool rules. I mean, he's a massive, corrupted, giant worm dragon thingy. So, he's got a nice little special monstrous rampage where he can reduce the armor characteristic of enemy heroes around him. And he's also got a nice 10-inch range D3 damage ranged missile attack with his Slath Tongue. The Vorpal Claws are a cool little weapon, and you've also got your Spike Tail in there for a nice rend 1 -1 attack as well. Now, the cool thing about him as well, his Spurning Barbline, is he actually does mortal wounds back to his opponent when he's damaged, as well as he's got all this corrupted acidic blood within his veins. The Chimera, on the other hand, is much more straightforward. This thing has a Fiery Breath, which is 12-inch range and D3 mortal wounds, and it's got a nice large amount of different monstrous mount profiles on its head. Like, all of them get to attack all different. And you've got a nice cool Thricefold Savary Rampage as well. We actually get to add +1 attack to all the different heads' attacks, though you do have to target the same model with all of your attacks. The Beast Lord is another character we could look to bring into the force. For me, he's got a couple of really cool rules. So first of all, call to battle in the command phase. You can pick a friendly Beast Herd unit to fight directly after him or directly in front of him. You can bring a unit in pretty similar to the Galatian Command Battalion. And you've also got his dual axes, which on his 5 attacks at damage 2 allows every time he rolls a 6 to hit to do 2 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. His hatred of heroes as well will allow your units around him to potentially get +1 to hit and wound against enemy heroes. Now lastly, we have the Endless Spells. There are actually some really cool utility in the Endless Spells for the Beasts of Chaos. Ravening Direflock is the bunch of birds you see there. They've got multiple parts, but they all have to be within 3 inch of each other. They do have an 8-inch move and can fly as well, which is really nice. The Harbingers of Dark Omen are rules, that means models cannot issue Rally or Inspiring Presence within 6 inch. And the Stalking the Shadow rule means you roll a d6 each time an enemy model issues a command within 6 inch of this endless spell. And on a 5+, that command is not received and the command point that was spent to issue the command is lost. The Doomblast Dirgehorn, on the other hand, is a booming cacophony. When this endless spell is set up, its range is 6 inch. At the start of each subsequent battle round, its range is increased by 6 inch. You subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by enemy units within range of the endless spell. This stacks really nicely with the whole rules we get for the Morgurite Chaospawn. The Wildfire Taurus is a cool always strikes last endless spell that also does a nice little bit of mortal wound damage and is generally the most offensive of all the endless spells as well. And so here we have our sample army list. We've gone for obviously the Gavespawn and Great Frey and Mortimer of Ghur because it is the time of the beast. Now the grand strategy we've gone is protect the Herdstone. This effectively means we just have to make sure there's no enemy units around our Herdstone at the end of the game, and also it hasn't had something like Smash to Rubble or anything that destroys it or removes its terrain rules from it during the game. Now, normally with Beasts of Chaos, I would always recommend going with Bloodthirsty for rerolls to charge, but there's not really, in this particular army, going to be a lot that we use to, say, come in from ambush. So for me, Inspired +1 wound is really great. Now, our Great Brave Shaman is going to be our general. We've got a Master of Magic for that once per turn reroll on a casting attempt. And we port the Griff Feather Charm, which is an artifact from the Galatian Relics, which gives them a 5+ ward, which generally, because we haven't got a lot of models on the table, I think, we might get separated and potentially be at risk of getting shot. So it could be a particularly good artifact to have. Though, remembering the Gibberin congregations are battle line, so we are Galatian champion and can't be targeted whilst within an inch of them. Now the spell we've gone for is Tendrils of Atrophy. This is probably my favourite spell, where you add 1 to the damage inflicted by each successful attack made with a melee weapon that targets an enemy unit that you've chosen to pick with this spell. So this can be particularly good on those Gibberin congregations, getting them some extra damage in melee with those loads of attacks. Aspect of the champion wise, we've gone Stubborn as a Rhinox. This makes our Great Brave Shaman count as 10 models on an objective. Especially in such a low model count army, this is going to be super important. Battle line wise, we've gone for 2 Gibberin congregations. Now these are 230 points each, and you get 3 Morgurite Chaospawn in each one. We then added a Jabberslayer as a cool little behemoth, giving us a ton of corrupted monsters to fight alongside our Brave Shaman. And then the Doomblast Dirgehorn as well. Like I said, I think it just goes really nice alongside the Gibberin congregation. Everything is wrapped up in a battle regiment, and we've spent 745 points out of our 750. No reinforced units, no allies, wounds 45 on the table, and a 1-drop force. I particularly like the 1-drop for Beasts of Chaos, especially with such a small force. It's important to be able to dictate how the battle is taking place and how it's shaping up. If you've got some ideas for a Gavespawn army, let us know down in the comments below. And so that is the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed the video and you got something out of it as well. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And while you're at it, why not drop a comment down below letting us know your thoughts on the video's content. Also, if you'd like to come and chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Cinderful Gaming, we have a Discord server which is linked down in the video's description. Also, down in the video's description is the best ways to help support the channel if you would like to do so. We have Patreon and YouTube members, both linked down in the video's description, and you'll get yourself a little shout out just like these people here are going to in just a second. But also, if you'd like to grab some merch to help yourself and get something in the same time and help the channel, you can do so either by our Teespring or by the Ko-fi store. As a special thank you, I said, to our Patreon and YouTube members, thank you to Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Thee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Anthony B, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domain, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Bloobs, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, and Nicholas Conomos, and to our YouTube members as well, Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, Davis Wire, James South, and James Tillman. Thank you all so much for helping support the channel. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchbox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Thank you all once again for watching. Stay safe, stay well everyone, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.